gotta go ahead and get some streaming links out here. But thank you for joining. We're watching Bitcoin right now. You know, originally I thought, looking at the 4 hour, might get a pullback, maybe sweep these 4 hour lows, or at least touch this 4 hour bullish order block before moving higher. But the way how this pattern is really shaping out, it looks like we've already reclaimed this sell-off, right? This was basically the resistance. It needs to stay below, right? And it already reclaimed it. It's trading above 50% of this candle. It's just showing that it is pretty bullish locally, right? So if we get see the 30-minute already closed above it. I'm thinking we're actually just gonna move higher. I'm gonna go ahead and get out the live stream to people on X. Just gonna watch what it does here. Most likely we'll go ahead and sweep these highs one more time before possibly coming down. So maybe something like this, to be honest. Everything's pretty bullish, so I wouldn't be surprised if we come back inside and just keep on rocketing off. But it would be nice to get a decent pullback. But we know how crypto is. Once it starts moving, it really starts moving. All right, so let's see here. All right, so we got the link out. Let's go ahead and look at the daily candles here. So even erasing all of this, all right, let's go ahead. Let's group that together. Just really taking a step back and looking at Bitcoin, you'll notice, similar to the post I made yesterday on YouTube, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, question is, will it make a higher high or will it just roll over and start to make lower lows, right? That's what we're really trying to double check. This is a very nice bottom. It's very similar to what happened here, almost identical, right? Could even grab this, pull this over here, and you can see how close it is. So will we get something like this to sweep these highs? Very possible. I wouldn't be surprised going into, this will take a while actually, you know, going into almost the end of 2026, so Q4 of 2026. I don't really think that's what's going to happen. It might be more like something like this. This is more of what I'm expecting. Pump to the upside, maybe go all the way up, take liquidity above these highs, leave these highs untapped, and just start to roll over. This would make more sense in terms of the 4-year cycle. Even though some people are saying the 4-year cycle is dead. Yeah, I don't believe so. You know, I still think the 4-year cycle will have an effect. I think it won't be as strong, right? Because as you can see, there's always been a bear market, right? But when you zoom out, even though there is a bear market, price has still just made higher highs and higher lows, right? Just like the stock exchange. And in my opinion, it will probably come all the way down to these lows, hit maybe just below 50,000 before rocketing higher. I don't even think we're going to get below 40. You know, it could happen, could come all the way back down to 30,000, worst case scenario, right? Fill out these inefficiencies. It is possible. But I really am thinking we'll probably end up stopping. Yeah, I think around here. But then again, we can always just do this, right? Let's just say this thing was to retrace 75%. Where does that lead us? Because that seems like the golden spot lately. Yeah, right around 42,000. So sweep these lows, hit 75%. I don't think it gets all the way down to the 886. It is possible at around 28,000. Not impossible. But with all the big players in, I don't think that's going to happen. I think this right here seems more likely. At the 786, around 40,000. That seems more likely. And I say that because if you go to the ES, all right, look, pullbacks, even on this massive tear to the upside, you had some pretty big drops in the stock market. Nothing but higher highs and higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, right? And this is actually looking very similar to what happened right here, right? So you had a drop, a little weird consolidation, comes down, impulse is higher, drop, little weird consolidation. If I go to hide this, hide this, hide this, hide this. I would not be surprised if that's what we're pretty much getting now, right? Only difference is this one was around an all-time high. Oh, that's pretty much above it. So yeah, you know, it's just so crazy to me. This this chart, it's basically just showing inflation. That's all it is. It doesn't even seem like this doesn't even seem like normal price action, right? Like it's just not normal. Like this is just way too bullish. It doesn't make sense. And obviously, you know, this has been going on since 1998, 1997. But there has to be a time where this gets under control. All right, where the value of the markets really start to make sense. Right? Like they keep printing money. Money gets lost, I guess. They keep printing more. They give it away. Like I just don't even understand why this would just keep going up forever. This is why I also think Bitcoin could possibly be the answer in a way. Did my stream stop? What's going on here? It should be. I'm still live. Yeah, very strange. But anyway, let's get back to Bitcoin. Now, there needs to be true value, right? And I think Bitcoin, the idea behind Bitcoin is what can actually provide true value, right? Now, imagine if the world had one monetary system which had a fixed supply, and where every single, I guess in this example, coin can be tracked. So even if cartels have it, even if other nations have it through hacks, even if bad people have it, whatever it is, anybody can track where the money is and how it got there. And if the world had a limited supply or a fixed supply, it'll force a lot of these nations to be a lot more responsible with their money, right? You'd only then become more wealthy by providing value to the world, right? So this way, the true value of something would actually be the true value of that asset. It wouldn't be any inflation going on. It would just be the value of what it is, right? You're working a certain amount per hour. That specific job should only be able to afford whatever that is permanently. So if you're getting paid, let's just say 10 an hour, 10 United States dollars an hour, you would just get paid that amount. Let's just say you're a construction worker. The supplies would be a fixed rate. How much you're getting paid is a fixed rate. The houses that are being built cost the exact same. And that's just how it should be. This should just be a fixed system, no inflation. So this way we know exactly what an asset is valued. Is it truly undervalued? Is it truly overvalued? If that asset or that company or whatever is bringing more value to the world, then yeah, the value would go up naturally. But it wouldn't be due to inflation. It would be due to the actual value of the company. But anyway, that's my thoughts. There needs to be a fixed system, not this inflation stuff. Because things just keep going up forever. It's pretty crazy. Like, just take a look at that. 20 years from now, this is probably going to be at 15,000. Who knows? How high can this thing go? This does not look like a normal chart. Yeah, I'm sure, you know, when you zoom in, of course, normal price action, ups and downs, highs and lows. Let's put up the previous day's highs and lows, right? Yeah, when you do it like this, everything looks normal until you do this. But anyway, ES is a very good asset to look at. All right, top 500 companies. So whatever this does, Bitcoin typically does as well. It does look like it's gearing up to have pretty much a bearish week ahead. But then again, this, you know, once you're longing ES or NQ, you're typically almost always right. Just wait for a dump, go long, and it seems like you always end up in the money, right? So patience always wins. No matter what with this, you just wait for a big dump, comes down to a very big support, go long, and you typically end up on the positive side. Of course, you know, you'll have pullbacks like this, which is super aggressive. But if we didn't know what was going to happen, right? And you said, okay, well, I know this is a key support. When it gets here, how long? You'd be wrong. You'd exit. Maybe you try to get in right here when it comes back above this support. You'd be wrong again. 2 losing trades. Price completely falls off a cliff. You're marking out some other key levels. You decide to go long here, hold it for a few weeks, and you're way in the money, right? So same thing here. We don't know how big some of these pullbacks can be, but with ES and Q, you just mark out a key low, and at this very moment, let's just zoom out a little bit. This is obviously a key low. Probably wait there if you're nice and patient. You don't trade every time. Wait till ES gets to around 68, 66. Go long. If it fails, next support level is right below. And yeah, you typically end up on the right side of things sooner or later. But today does look a little bit bearish for ES, which means for crypto, it should look bearish as well, but it isn't, right? And that's because if we go ahead and zoom out, we can see, even if we go to the weekly, it makes it a lot more clear that it seems like it's trying to make another higher low, right? To continue higher. Overall, this is still pretty much a range, right? Let me go back to, let me actually go back to this one. Hold on a second. All right. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this for now. So it came back, hit the 75%, actually hit all the way to the 886, I believe. All right, and bounced, holding this level, looking like it's going to move higher. But one thing to keep in mind is this right now is clearly a range, right? Range high, range low. Make it a little bit clear for everybody. And we're just seeing how price trades within this range, right? And I'm just going off of this weekly candle because it's the last major weekly candle before consolidation. Obviously, it's just been inside this range ever since. And yes, you know, you can technically use this swing high on the daily as the range high, right? We have some swing lows too as well. But for the most part, let me go ahead and remove this. This is currently the trading range, right? So to long here, maybe not the best idea, especially since price tested above it, right? Took some liquidity, got rejected, and it's just one time framing on the 4 hour to the downside. So once this high gets violated, then I would expect another push up to take liquidity again above 94.8, because typically what happens here, Bitcoin likes to grab liquidity more than once. So I might go once, might even do it again before coming back down. Or if we just get some momentum, price gains some acceptance above that level, it'll probably push up higher. So if you're looking, oh, when should I be longing Bitcoin? You know, not financial advice, but to be honest, this is not a terrible place to enter a long. Yes, it is high if you zoom out on a 4 hour, you're at the top of the range. But if you're looking to scalp trade, then when's the best time, right? And what you would do is you'd say, okay, well, clearly this was a low down here, right? And we just made a high after taking a pretty significant high. I think price is gonna, if you say, I think price is still going to move higher. Well, this right here is technically consolidation, right? So this was, even right here, this was resistance, now flipped into support. So we had a sell-off into the level. Clearly some buyers here stepped in, kept price up, pushing to the upside. We're now above this sell side candle, this bearish candle. If price starts to close above here, not a terrible place to enter a long, in my opinion, aiming for the highs. If we split this little range in half, you're still technically in the discount category, right? So on the 1 hour, when looking at things in halves, yes, you're in the top part of the bottom half, so a little bit iffy. Yes, you might be a little bit late to the party, but then again, not really, right? Like, this is not a terrible place to enter along, in my opinion. Maybe place your, just place your stops below here, right? Manage your position size. Can go long. Put it right here. These lows, less than 1% of your portfolio. Aim for the highs. It's a 1.5 to 1 risk reward, not the worst. And yeah, if price breaks out, then you're clearly aiming for these highs, right? And after that, you'd be aiming for this high right here, which would be pretty nice risk rewards, right? This is less than 1% risk to possibly get, what's that, 14%. So yeah, risk reward is 20 to 1. That's a pretty amazing risk reward. Zooming out, not the best place to long, but locally it is not a bad idea once you start to build a trade idea behind it. If you're waiting for a bigger pullback, then yeah, maybe wait for this CME gap to be filled, right? Because Bitcoin tends to like to fill these CME gaps. So if I go back here, clear gap, right? No trading on the New York Stock Exchange happened between 90,005 to 91,006. So in terms of fairness, anyone that is ETF locked, right? They never had the opportunity to buy here. And that's just how the markets work, right? They're very efficient. So at the end of the day, in terms of being fair, obviously the market is actually very fair. When you start to think about it, it's very efficient and very fair for the most part. Typically gaps get filled. Look at this, impulse higher, massive gap, price comes down, fills it, and it's completely keeps selling off. Most gaps do end up being filled. Let's see if we can find anything else. Gap here, price impulse is higher, comes down, fills it before moving higher. Small gap here, price eventually, look at this. Price eventually comes down, fills the gap, right? Let me actually put this one on before it moves in lower. Same thing here, little gap, that same day fills it, moves lower. So these gaps tend to get filled, right? Same thing here, little gap. This one did not get filled, which is actually very interesting. So now we have one, two. We have two gaps here, which have not been filled yet. So with that being said, there is a chance, and that's two of them pretty much right in a row, right? Depending on how bullish this market is, maybe it comes back and fills it later on, right? Like, who knows? Maybe it just fills it now. We're not sure, but there are some trades to be made, right? There's always trades to be made. We're at the top of a range. That's the bottom of the range. To short here, not the, it's not a terrible idea, right? Because you're at the top of the range. Shorting at the top of the range is never a bad idea. You're also 1% risk if you were to enter a short, aiming for these CME gaps, 4-to-1 trade, right? No one knows what's going to happen. So, but what you do know what's going to happen is how much you're going to lose if you do lose your trade, right? No one knows how much money they can make, but they know how much money they can lose. And that's the truth. Right? Sometimes it's good just to keep it that simple, right? Nobody, I'll say it again, nobody knows how much money they're going to make on a trade, but everybody knows how much they are able to lose on a trade. Okay? So keep that in mind. Right now with Bitcoin, yeah, we're just trying to see what happens here at these highs. Go back to the 15-minute. If you think it'll keep on going down, maybe the next best area to enter a short would be above this 50%. So maybe the golden pocket, right? At around 94.5. Maybe the NAV, 94.8, right? Pick your poison. If price does push higher and you're still bearish and it starts to slow down at one of these key levels, your risk will go down, right? Which is even better for you. Take a smaller loss. So it would be nice to see just some sort of weakness before entering the trade and aiming lower, because right now it is looking a little bullish. So we're just going to see locally. All right, we just want to see what happens for the trend line traders, right? Trend line's broken. Maybe you want to watch this trend line. See if that breaks. Bitcoin is notorious for selling off after a trend line break. As you can see, trend line breaks, price goes down. Even if it's not for too long, but it typically does go down after a trend line break. Even here, right? Trend line breaks, price goes down, reclaims it, retests it, and blasts off. Same thing here. Trend line breaks, price goes down. Bitcoin is very notorious for trend line breaks to sell-offs. So if you want one trade to keep on doing for Bitcoin, there it is. Trend line break, price sells off. Sometimes it is just that easy. Trend line break, price sells off. And yes, it does happen to the upside too as well, but in my opinion, it does it a lot more aggressively for shorts, right? Trend line breaks, consolidation, price sells off. It just always happens. Trend line break, price sells off. Literally always happens. Yeah, anywhere in the chart, just do it and you'll see. Draw a trend line. Once it breaks, be patient while going short. Not financial advice, and you usually come out positive, right? Like, just think about that. Such a simple thing can possibly make you money, right? Trend line breaks, price sells off. Trend line breaks, price sells off. I could do this all day. All right, this was a very steep trend line, but once again, trend line breaks, consolidation, price sells off. And yes, it does happen to the upside too as well, but like I said, it just seems not as great. You do get the results, mainly in a bull market, but still it doesn't really last as long. It seems like the shorts always pay best. Like even look at this massive uptrend. Yeah, once the trend line broke on this massive, like a massive trend line breaks, then it goes up, right? But if you were looking for, you know, like this, for instance, trend line breaks, price goes up, sells off pretty quick, retest the lows. Here, it would have worked out a little bit better for you. All right, trend line broke, price goes up, takes out the highs. But on the sell side, it seems to always just have a bigger effect, right? Trend line breaks, price sells off. So yeah, pick your poison. Trend line breaking to the downside seems to always be pretty nice with Bitcoin. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, thank you for joining. I'm going to try to do this more often, every day at around 6:30 to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time.